Johnny leaned heavily on Grace and Neujohn as they walked him out across the courtyard and into the kitchen garden. Seeing them appear, Stukely jumped to his feet. "Johnny!" he cried, jumping up and running over to his old buddy. "It's so good to see you." Stopping short beside him, Stukely took a proper look at his friend and comrade. "Man, you look like—"
"I feel worse than that," Johnny said, hanging his head.
"Where's Darcy?" Grace asked Stukely. "She had to go," he said. "Or to be more accurate, she felt she had to get away from me." "Oh," Grace nodded. "Well, I suppose you two should be on your way, too. Neujohn and I will go and distract the guards." She was about to set off when Johnny reached out and softly caught her arm.
"Hey," he said, "don't I get to thank you for saving my life?"
Grace shrugged awkwardly. "You've already thanked me," she said, "hundreds of times." He smiled at her, opening his arms and drawing her into the gentlest of embraces.
"I owe you," he said. "If you ever need me, if I can ever help you, I'll be there in a flash."
"Thank you," she said. It was a kind offer, but she couldn't imagine what set of circumstances would send her running to him. "You really should get going now."
"Sure thing, sugar. I just want to say one more thing. If you ever change your mind about Lorcan, I know that ain't likely any time this millennium, but if you ever do, I'll be waiting."
Grace remembered how during her first healing session with Johnny she had felt the tangible sense of his happiness during their midnight horseback rides. In another lifetime perhaps they could have made it work, but not now, not the way the die had been cast. It was on the tip of her tongue to tell him not to wait for her, but she decided on balance that it was kinder to say nothing. Instead, she let him stand back on his own 2 feet, then addressed Stukely. "Take good care of him, Jez, or you'll have me to answer to." Stukely nodded. He didn't even pick her up for using his long-forsaken mortal name. "I'm grateful to you, Grace. More than I can say." "Come on," Neujohn said. "Time for the final phase of our plan." It all went without a hitch, and soon the 2 comrades were on the other side of the sanctuary gates, Stukely leading Johnny back down the mountainside.
"Guess you know what happened to my ship,"
Johnny said mournfully. Stukely nodded. "Those scumbag pirates came under cover of the dawn light and stole it from you." Johnny's eyes were wide and sorrowful.
"That was my ship, mi hermano. My ship and my crew." He shook his head. "Hell only knows what they did to my men and women, if they did this to me."
Stukely spoke gravely. "Word on the water is that the Oblivion toll was high." He squeezed Johnny's shoulder. "But you'll get another ship." Johnny's eyes were cast down.
"Truth be told, I'm not sure I deserve one. I let my team down, Stuk. We shouldn't have been caught unawares like that."
He lifted his eyes once more to meet his friends. "You know who was behind this attack?" Stukely asked.
"The Unholy Alliance, of course."
"Yeah, but I mean who specifically?" Johnny shook his head. "Lorcan freaking Fury," Stukely sneered. "Seems like Captain Sanctimonious is directing military strategy for their side now."
"Really?"
Johnny shrugged. "Well, it ain't no surprise when you think about it. The self-hating vampirate needs something to keep himself warm on those long, cold winter nights." Stukely grinned. "The way you were talking to Grace about there, I thought you were all going to be friends."
"Nah,"
Johnny shook his head.
"I'm done fighting him in love, but I sure ain't letting him get away with anything in war."
"That's the spirit," Stukely said as they navigated a particularly treacherous section of the cliff path. Thankfully, the moon and stars were there to guide their footsteps. "You know, I've been worrying about you all day long and thanking every one of these stars that you survived."
"Thank you,"
Johnny said, more touched than he could say by Stukely's words. "De nada, hermano," Stukely said, smiling at his friend. "Sidoria was out of his mind with worry, too."
"He was?"
Johnny said, his eyes brightening at the thought.